Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Shri Radha Gopinatha ki jai, Granta Raja Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, always is and devotees, always to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Good.
Hare Krishna.
Let's chant Nama Om Vishnu-padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatane Mancha kalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhya evacha Patitam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranayami Haripriye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauravaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. And everyone together. Nasta Prayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Radhati Nashti. Which means?
Where are they going to live?
Don't fight.
By regular attendance on Srimad-Bhagavatam, my reading service on Purāṇaḥ, all that is troublesome in the heart is moved almost to near. Translate loving service, translate Torah, establish the rule of
Almost to nil, huh? Okay. Good. We're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 7, Lord Shiva saves the universe. And we have two verses, verse 30 and 31. 30 without a purport. I have a question though before we start, and it's actually, I'm asking because I don't remember. Do the demigods specifically ask Lord Shiva to drink the poison Or do they just say, help, help, please save us? Huh?
I recall they asked him to drink the poison, stop this poison.
To stop it. Do they ask to drink it? Dear Lord, please drink this poison. Yes.
If my memory is correct, it was like a devastation situation where everybody was dying, almost dying, then he came and he killed it himself. I don't remember anybody asking that.
Okay, so you're saying they didn't specifically ask, but they're asking him to help. That's what all these prayers are about, right? They're
Because it was devastation, so just everything was, everyone was
yeah,
dying.
no, that's understood. That has to do with whether they're specifically asking. Okay, we'll have to research that. Good, let's read verse number 30. We're continuing with the prayers. So it's interesting that these are prayers of the demigods and the demons, right? So for once the demons and the demigods are in agreement about something. Okay, verse number 30. I'll just read the translation. O Lord, or Shiva, your shadow is seen in irreligion, which brings about varieties of irreligious creations. The three modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are your three eyes. So Shiva has three eyes. All the Vedic literatures, which are full of verses, are emanations from you, because their compilers wrote the various scriptures after receiving your glance. Some rather esoteric descriptions of Lord Shiva. Okay, let's chant verse number 31 together. Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Jyoti param yatra rajas-tamāṁsi.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Sattvam nayat brahma nirastavedam.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Nate giritra kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendra gamyam.
param netra-trayaṁ.
Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ. Sarvam nayam brahmani rasavedam.
Nate gitra kila lokapala.
Nate gitra kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam.
Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ.
Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ. Sarvam nayam brahmani rasavedam.
Nate gita kila lokapale.
Nate gita kila lokapala.
Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam.
Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam.
Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ.
Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ. Sarvam nayam brahmani rasavedam. Nate gita kila lokapala. Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam. Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ. Sarvam nayam brahmani rasavedam. Nate gita kila lokapala. Virincha vaikunta surendragamyam. Jyoti param netra-trayaṁ. Sarvam nayam brahmani rasavedam.
Right. Na.
Na.
Not. Te. Of your lordship. Giritra. O king of the mountains. Akila Lokapala. All the directors of departments of material activities. Virincha. Lord Brahma. Yes. Vaikunta. Lord Vishnu. Sura Indra. The king of heaven. Gamyam. They can understand. Jyoti. Light. What else? Effulgence. Param. Transcendental. Yatra. Wherein. Raja. The mode of passion. Tamacha. And the mode of ignorance. Sattvam. Yes. Na. Yat Brahma. Which is impersonal Brahman. Nirastavhedam. Without distinction. Between demigods and human beings. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation, O Lord Girisha, since the impersonal Brahman effulgence is transcendental to the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, the various directors of this material world certainly cannot appreciate it, or even know where it is. What is it that they cannot appreciate or know?
effulgence.
Huh?
The impersonal effulgence.
Yes, the impersonal Brahman effulgence. It is not understandable even to Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, or the King of Heaven, Mahendra. Purports. The Brahma Jyoti is actually the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Brahma Samhita 540. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanta koti koti shashesha sudadi vibhuti vinnam tat brahma nishkalam anantam aneksheshaktam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Although the impersonal feature of the Absolute is an expansion of the rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he does not need to take care of the impersonalists who enter the Brahma Jyoti. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadam-yaktamurtina. In my impersonal feature, I pervade this entire universe. Thus the avyaktamurti, the impersonal feature, is certainly an expansion of Krishna's energy. Mayavadis, who prefer to merge into this Brahman effulgence, worship Lord Shiva. The mantras referred to in text 29 are called Mukhani Panchopanishadas Tavekṣā. Mayavadis take all these mantras seriously in worshipping Lord Shiva, which implies that Vaishnavas don't take these mantras seriously. But then, what does Prabhupada do? He proceeds to give us the first few words of not 5, but 38 mantras. Interesting. These mantras are as follows. 1. Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Shantyai. 2. Mahadevaya Dhimahi Vidyayai. 3. Tanno Rudra Pratishtayai. 4. Prachodayat Dhrityai. 5. Agorebhyastama. And now comes 3 dots. So continuing. And then, should I read all of this? It goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay, I'm going to jump to the last 3. 36. Brahmadipatir, Brahmanodipatir, Brahman Brahmishtada. And then 37. Shivo me astu marichyai. And 38. Sada Shiva Jvalinyai. Hare Krishna. The purport continues. The impersonal Brahman is unknown even to the other directors of the material creation, including Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, and even Lord Vishnu. This does not mean, however, that Lord Vishnu is not omniscient. Lord Vishnu is omniscient, but he does not need to understand what is going on in his all-pervading expansion. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that although everything is an expansion of him, maya tatamidam sarvam, he does not need to take care of everything, na chaham teshvavastita, since there are various directors like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Indra. And so ends Prabhupada's purport to this verse. O Lord Girisha, let's repeat it together. O Lord Girisha, since the impersonal Brahman effulgence is transcendental to the material modes of goodness, passion and ignorance, the various directors of this material world certainly cannot appreciate it or even know where it is. It is not understandable even to Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, or the King of Heaven Mahendra. So this verse seems to be mainly about what is not known, namely Brahman. And at the end of the purport, in effect, Prabhupada says, even Lord Vishnu is not conscious of it, not because he's not omniscient, but he doesn't need to know. He doesn't care. It's not important to him. But it's very important to who? To the Mayavadis who worship Lord Shiva. Yeah. So this is an interesting way of describing Lord Shiva. And it's obviously a description by Vaishnavas, but then it's also being spoken, well, technically I don't know if the demons are speaking here, but they're somehow participating in all of this. There's also some attention to mantras, which, as Prabhupada says, this was referred to in verse number 29, which was discussed later, but we can read, was discussed yesterday, but we can read again. O Lord, the 5 important Vedic mantras are represented by your 5 faces, from which the 38 most celebrated Vedic mantras have been generated. Your lordship, being celebrated as Lord Shiva, is self-illuminated. You are directly situated as the supreme truth known as Paramatma. Okay, so Lord Shiva is identified with mantras. And mantras are one way to understand the whole culture of mantra chanting. Is it's a kind of, we might call it Vedic technology. And Prabhupada in his translation emphasizes these are Vedic mantras, and it would be interesting to research just where these are and what are the complete mantras and so on. So much could be done. But what comes to my mind about these mantras and the relation to Shiva is that there are kind of 2 categories of mantras. There's Vedic mantras and there's tantric mantras. And this is mentioned by Krishna in 11th canto. When Krishna is discussing, in the very beginning, I think it's chapter 27, Krishna is talking about archana. It's all about how different ways one can worship the Lord. And in the very beginning he says you can worship in a Vedic way, or you can worship in a tantric way, or you can worship in a mixed way, mishra. Aren't you happy to know this? Something you didn't know, huh? Well, you may ask, what is it that we do? What system of worship do we have? Actually, we have both. We have Mishra mixed. The mantras that we worship with, the deities, are mainly tantric mantras. Tantra?
Interesting enough.
Oh, no. What?
Interesting enough.
Yeah, that'll keep everyone awake. Well, it's tantra, but it's not what you might think is tantra. It's sattvika tantra. Because most of what people hear of as tantra is rajasika or tamasika tantra. But in any case, it's tantra. And okay, so what's the difference? The difference, one difference, is that Vedic mantras come from the Vedic Samhitas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva, mainly Rig Veda. Now this verse 29 says Pancha Upanishada, Mukani Pancha Upanishada. Five phases are identified with Upanishads. And you may say, but that's not the four Vedas. Well, yes it is, because each of the Upanishads are identified as portions of the four, mainly three Vedic Samhitas. And so, okay, Vedic. Tantra, what is Tantra? Tantra are other mantras, and they are mantras which are received not by qualification of birth, because to receive Vedic mantras, one has to, according to the tradition, be born in a dvija, in a twice-born family. Otherwise, no, we don't get access. Having said that, we in our tradition receive one Vedic mantra. Yes, the Brahma Gayatri. And this is a source of some objection by some traditionalist Indians. They say, you can't give this mantra. Well, as it turns out, the Gayatri mantra is readily available now all over the internet. Anybody can see it. There's one mission in India. I don't know their name, but they're on a mission to spread Gayatri mantra, and just as we are on a mission to spread chanting of Hare Krishna. They're actually saying everyone should chant Gayatri. In any case, Tantra is what we do mainly, and what sort of Tantra? The kind which is given in Pancharatra. Pancharatra is a kind of genre, a type of literature, which we at least tangentially follow for worship of the deity, and also for the philosophy, the theology of deity worship. Okay, but we're talking about Lord Shiva, and Shiva is associated very much with other sorts of Tantra, and he is often worshipped for the purpose of gaining impersonal Brahman, as we would say, right? These followers of Lord Shiva are not popular amongst the Vaishnavas, and indeed the Bhagavatam praises Lord Shiva, as we say, to the sky. We say in English, praising to the sky. So Lord Shiva is praised, but his followers, generally not. They're not appreciated. But here we have these followers of Lord Shiva, for the moment, if you like. We have the demigods and the demons, everybody together. All together, let's worship Lord Shiva. Why? Because we're in trouble. Confirmed. Gesundheit. and we need to get out of trouble. And we've just looked, they do not specifically ask him to drink poison, but they say, please help, and do something about this. Do something about this poison. So this is the context. There is a problem, and it needs to be solved, and it needs to be solved urgently. So what I thought to do now, just for fun, is to relate this project, this task, with a system which has been generated probably out of the business world for identifying the right goal. You've probably heard of at least some of this, so-called SMART goals. Never heard of SMART goals? Everybody's heard it. Yes, Manohar's probably been indoctrinated, yes? At Govardhan Eco Village? Yes. Right? SMART goals, we all know about SMART goals. Okay, SMART goals are goals which are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-phased. So S-M-A-R-T. Well, it goes, there's several more aspects of it, but we can start with these. So let's think about this goal of the demigods and the demons with regard to the poison and with regard to Shiva, Lord Shiva. This is easy. Is it specific?
Yes.
Very specific. Right. They're not going to Lord Shiva and saying, oh, we have a problem. What's your problem? Well, we don't really know what is our problem. No, they know what is their problem. And so that's one thing that's not a problem, is identifying the problem. Many times when there's a feeling that there's a problem, the main problem is we don't know what the problem is. And another problem that comes with problems is not knowing who is the owner of the problem. Right? Somebody comes to the temple president or temple manager and says, there's this problem, and goes on and on and on about this problem, but nobody says, wait a minute, let's figure out who is the owner of the problem. Let's first see who is the owner of the problem. Generally, sometimes, not generally, but it can happen, that we go to a manager with a problem, and our main motivation is to unload the problem on the manager, when in fact it may not be their problem, it may be our problem. So we can save a lot of trouble when we're dealing with issues to identify what is the problem and who owns it. Okay, so with the situation here, is this problem measurable? Or rather, is the goal of dealing with the problem measurable?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah? We can say it's measurable. Because we'll know that when it's removed, it's gone.
Complete.
Complete. You could say there's one poison, and what we want is zero poison. Yeah. The whole environmental movement has a problem because they don't know how much pollution is too much pollution, and they don't know how much is going to be okay, and there's many problems about the measurability of it all. It's controversial. Okay, third point, is the goal attainable?
Apparently.
Apparently.
Eventually we're both.
Huh?
Yeah.
If he says
They
yes,
had the faith that it was
Yeah, they
true.
believe.
They have faith that Lord Shiva is going to be able to attain this goal. Yes, and of course, as we know, it will be attainable. It'll be attainable in, we might say, a surprising way, right? Because beforehand we don't know that that the solution is going to be that Lord Shiva glug 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 drinks the poison. Yeah, slurping. Achama. Yes. Huh? Zip. Slip. Sipping. Yeah, sipping. Yeah, sipping poison. We don't know that. So it's attainable, but we don't know how it's going to be attainable until Lord Shiva actually does it. Then, is the goal realistic? Maybe, maybe not. To remove all of the poison of this planet, is that attainable?
But I guess if you're a demigod and you know that level, then you see a different type of attainable than we see here.
Oh, okay. They see different attainable than we see. We don't see much of anything attainable, right? Is it attainable to get up in the morning? Okay, that maybe I can manage. Huh?
Not always.
Not always. And so on. And finally, of these five, the goal should be time, what is it? Time phased. Should be manageable in time segments. So, is this particular situation, would you say time phased?
Just now.
Just now. Just now coming. Immediately, right? Let's get it done and over with. Okay, those are, so that's an interesting way of thinking about a particular situation in the Bhagavatam, and then we can sort of reapply that, possibly, or possibly not, to our own situations. There are 9 further qualifications of a good goal, which we could discuss. I don't know. Do we want to discuss these, or do we want to stop there and just consider what we have so far? Huh? Yeah? We'll see. We'll see how far we get. Okay, the next 4 make up the, what is it called? Anagram, not anagram, of pure, P-U-R-E. So first is positively stated. Would you say that the demigods and demons are making a positively stated goal? Very positive. Do something. Do something about this poison, please. Even though the thing which they want him to do is to, in a sense, do something negative, get rid of something. Is this goal understood?
oh yes.
Oh yeah, very much, no problem. But notice, this can be a problem, this can be part of a problem when we are dealing with life, right? We may have clarified what is the problem, we may have clarified who owns the problem, but we may not have and we may come up with a solution, but we may not really understand that solution. Or maybe some understand and some don't understand. What's worse is if everyone thinks they understand, but nobody understands. Then there can be a problem. Is this goal of removing the poison relevant? Huh?
Yeah, people are dying. Very relevant.
Yeah, it's very relevant.
Can be more relevant.
Couldn't be more relevant. Right? Yes. Urgent. Okay. So positively stated, understood, relevant, and finally, of this group, ethical. Ethical. Is it right? Is it good that this be done, or is this going to is this going to go against some principles of ethics?
It's against the principle of pure devotion service.
Will it go against the principle of pure devotion service?
It's for sense gratification.
Oh, big problem here. Okay, stop the demigods and demons from having Lord Shiva drink the poison. We'll just have poison all over the universe for the rest of the life of the universe. And do pure devotional service, swimming in this poison. No? Maybe not. Okay. Then quickly there's 5 more principles. One is the goal should be challenging. It shouldn't be too easy. It should be a challenge. What do you think? Is this challenging? Quite. Maybe it's not something that Lord Shiva does every day. Right? And in fact, after they finish their prayers, Lord Shiva, it's very interesting, Lord Shiva is then going to consult with his wife, with Parvati. He's going to say, so they want me to help to do this. What do you think? So there's some consultation, husband, wife. Should be first of all, the anagram is clear, C-L-E-A-R, challenging, and the next one is legal. Is it legal for Lord Shiva to do this? Yeah, it must be, huh? I mean, even Lord Vishnu is agreeing to it, right? Yeah? Okay. There are no laws against swallowing poison when the poison is all over the universe. Some try to make laws against it. Okay. Maybe related to this is the third one. Is this goal environmentally sound? Is it good for the environment? Quite good, we may say. Some might, there's always going to be someone who will disagree. No, actually poison is very good. We need to put more poison into the earth because this is killing things that we don't want to eat our fields, so that we can feed more cows, so that we can slaughter more cows. Yeah, some people are thinking like that. A lot of people are thinking like that. Challenging, legal, environmentally sound. Agreed. It should be a goal which those who are involved in pursuing the goal agree. So we have the demigods and the demons. They're agreeing, isn't it? They want to stop this. And finally, R is for recorded. Recorded, written down. Huh? Yeah, the Bhagavatam has recorded it for us. Was it recorded at the time that Lord Shiva was deciding to do something about it? The Akash. He's been reading too much New Age stuff. Okay. Well, another way you could say it's recorded is that Lord Shiva speaks to Parvati about it. So he's recording to her by relating it to her. That's a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, it's a kind of recording, you could say. Okay, so these are goals, or aspects, or ways of judging a goal, and I think it's a nice way of thinking about this pastime. So we find in the Srimad-Bhagavatam some nice directions for management, organization, business, the business is swallowing poison. Lord Shiva, of course, is known as Nilakanta because he consumes and it just stays in his throat. And he's kind of celebrated amongst many sadhus who worship Lord Shiva for this. And in fact, they take this as an example for themselves to do things like smoking ganja. They say, we can do this because we follow Shiva, and Lord Shiva takes intoxicant, we also take intoxicant. Make sense? No? Why not?
We are not Lord Shiva.
Huh?
We are not Lord Shiva.
Oh, we are not Lord Shiva. Well, they're thinking maybe that they're sort of also Lord Shiva. So, yeah, they're becoming Lord Shiva. Okay, I might discuss other things, but I think we can stop there unless there's some further thought, question. Yes?
I made a little search even during the class, and I found a verse which says the following.
Okay.
My dear gentle wife Bhavani, when one performs benevolent activities for others, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari is very pleased. And when the Lord is pleased, I am also pleased along with all living creatures. Therefore, let me drink this poison for all the living entities, may thus become happy because of me.
Mm-hmm.
There is a series of verses where he, as you mentioned, discusses the whole problem with her,
Yeah.
but that's the point where he introduces his own desire to there was no question prior to this from anybody, to explicit questions.
Right.
They spend much time glorifying him, which is a very interesting approach. Generally, if you can refer a little bit to situation in management, people knock on the door and basically dump it on the lap, the problem.
Yeah.
It is a somewhat different approach. First of all, glorification. And
Yeah.
problem is only indicating.
And by the way, we have one small problem. Yeah. Yeah, of course, when the glorification is going on, you know there's going to be something at the end. What do you want? Okay, enough glorification. What do you want?
Make it short.
Yeah, make it short. Yeah. But also, he is then stating the solution. Right? He's himself coming up with the solution, and he's proposing it to Bhavani, to Parvati. Now, if you were Parvati, how would you react to this? What? You're gonna drink poison?
Well, it depends who you asked.
Huh?
Some wives might like to see.
Oh. Whoops. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. But then how does she? Anyway, that's for later. She will respond. Will she respond, or does she remain silent?
There's no direct reference to it here.
No, she doesn't
It's just
explicitly.
Sukadeva Swami says. She said.
Oh, she said.
After defining Bhavani in this way, Lord Shiva began to drink the poison, and Bhavani, who knew perfectly well the capabilities of Lord Shiva, gave him her permission to do so.
Okay, so she does give explicit permission, but okay. But the reason is she knows his powers. So that's very nice. Something else? Yes.
Maharaj, you were in the beginning also we were talking about Mayavadis worshipping Lord Shiva, and my question is why? If you kind of feel that you're a god, then why worship a mere demigods?
Yeah.
It kind of seems illogical to me.
Yeah. you'll have to ask them why. But they're seeing Shiva as an instrument for their purpose, and Shiva is seen as the topmost of the divinities. And of course, it's very difficult to generalize because there's so many different sorts of understandings about this. There's a system, a very sophisticated theological, philosophical system called Kashmir Shaivism, which itself has different branches, and it's quite heavily tantric in nature. But they have their whole scheme of cosmology, in which, essentially, Shiva is at the top, but then the goal is that one becomes, in effect, Shiva. But in order to do that, there may be some worship of Shiva. So, instrumentally, that's a little bit, I understand of it.
I guess that in fact that I find not logical is probably because it isn't. It's kind of worshiping out of ignorance, so it is not logical.
Well, it's logical if you think in terms of instrumentality. I think it's logical. Of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur spoke of this as Putana Bhakti. Sort of this style of Putanas approaching the Lord, apparently with devotion and apparently offering something. What is she offering? Poison. And Krishna accepts that poison, and of course takes her life in the process. But her purpose is to kill Krishna, and so we might say this is the logic. We can say it's a perverted logic, but it's a logic nonetheless, if we look at it that way. Yeah. Yes? Wait. We should have a microphone. You just pull down from the ceiling. You can have a few of them. Yes?
I'm very ignorant in this kind of way to understand this poison we have in our life now. Is the same like that Shiva do in the level. We can compare this like the same Jesus do, and most of the time we say we go to the church and we ask the forgiveness for the sinner. But next week we
against sin, yes.
That's mean we didn't understand really this poison, how that is work on us.
How to remove it permanently. Yeah.
We're talking about this poison, but we didn't see it all the time with us. We didn't understand how to make it. We didn't have pedagogy for we didn't have this kind of pedagogy to
the schooling, how to finish it completely. Yeah, that's of course a major subject of the Bhagavatam, and we can say in the context of this story, the permanent solution. It's a kind of semi-permanent solution, you can say, in this sense. Shiva is removing this poison, but of course the story goes on, and then they're pursuing the nectar. And we could say this is the whole problem for the impersonalist. She wants to get rid of the poison, and then thinking that it's all done. But we understand, no, we need to pursue the nectar of Krishna Bhakti in order to really finish it once and for all. Yeah.
Maharaj, is the conclusion then that Prabhupada mentions all these mantras and tantras, and I mean, we hear that in Kali Yuga, Brahmanas are not qualified to recite these mantras.
Yeah.
Does it suggest that at one point it will have some importance in our movement or for ourselves, or what is the conclusion?
Tantric mantras are, especially Pancharatra Tantra, that's understood as appropriate for us, and so we receive the adhikar to chant those mantras. That's why we're given the adhikar to worship the deities essentially through those mantras. And of course, what we call the Maha Mantra is understood as explicitly and specifically and especially for this age. Yeah, that's a whole nother lecture, right? But this is our mantra. Kalim savajayantya yatra sankirtanena eva. Through sankirtan and then worship of Krishna mantra is especially for us. Kaler dosha nide rajan asti hi eko mahanguna kirtanad eva krishnasya. Kirtanad eva krishnasya. The kirtan of Krishna is the mahat guna, the great quality of this age of Kali. So, in a sense, within the frame of the chanting of this mantra, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, and with the blessings of the acharyas, then we take further support with their blessings. We receive the adhikar to chant the Pancharatra mantras, and especially one mantra, the Brahma Gayatri from the Rig Veda. As for other mantras, I can't say very much. So it's interesting why Prabhupada lists all these mantras. Sometimes, this was his personal ecstasy, who knows? Just for completeness sake, he wanted to include.
I just heard the other day that someone was saying that, there were some devotees, they don't want to follow Prabhupada because he is so heavy with the demigods. But they follow Prabhupada. So maybe it's also a reason that Prabhupada gives importance to these things and just to accommodate everybody.
For the purpose of accommodation. That may be there, like sometimes Prabhupada would say. Some people say that Vishnu is supreme and that Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. So we don't argue. That's all right. They can say that's okay. So in that spirit. No, not in that spirit. In the spirit of Lord Shiva wanting to help all living entities, let us remember Srimad-Bhagavatam today. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.